lot good come out of this COVID mess and these masks, but wait, it's not on my nose. Oh, yeah, I just don't know about all of that. But if we look at the bright side of things, there are a couple of things good that comes from COVID, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So, hey, if it's your first time here, well, guess what? I'm Alan, and this is my wonderful co-host, Rebecca. And today, we're going to be talking about the quick update on the proposed law, digital nomads, and Q&A. What do you want to know about living in Costa Rica? Give me 1 second here, and hey, real quick, tell me, let's do a quick test, audio test. Can you hear us? Are we looking good? I know I'm always looking good. I fixed my hair. Anyway, my baby's always looking good. So, if you can hear us, give us a good thumbs up. Give us a like. Let us know how things are looking to you. Make sure you get your apple juice out. Hey, look here, super duper great. Yep, can hear you. You know, this COVID mess with wearing your mask sure makes it hard to drink apple juice. I still ain't figured out how to do it. I did put a straw in there, you know.
Okay.
All right. Okay, fantastic. So, got some good news for you. Let me turn on my notes right here. All right, so real quick, let's talk about the update on the proposed law. So, you know, when we last let off, we gave you an update here maybe a week or two ago that, it actually went through the second debate, which is awesome, or we were waiting for it to go to the second debate.
Right.
It went to the second debate. It got passed. Woohoo! Thumbs up, right? Now, the good news is, now that it's gone to the second debate, well, we're really just simply waiting for the president to sign it, and there's no reason why he won't sign it, so all of that is good news. I won't go into all the details because you can watch the update video and you can watch the original video where we talked about the new proposed law to attract foreigners, so that they can become residents here. Make sure that you watch those videos. Really great information. But the important thing on the update is that, hey, it passed the second debate, waiting for the president. Now, the president could sign it at any time. He could sign it right now. But you can't take advantage of this until it actually becomes law, which means what they have to do, the president signs it, it's law. However, it has to go to several different departments, which means, the Social Security Caja system, they got to change some of their rules and regulations. They have to implement things. Every department's got to get things ready. Immigrations, they got to do their work. They got to do their part. Everyone has got to put their stuff together. And then once all of the departments, and there's, I don't know how many departments, 4, 5, 6 departments that are involved in this new proposed law. Once they get all that put together, then it will all of a sudden be, I guess you could say, out there for us who want to take advantage of that can now begin to use that, okay? So that's really all just great news. How long is that going to take? Well, realistically, things in Costa Rica kind of move as fast as sloths. So just picture a sloth trying to get to San Jose. It could take a long time. So realistically, it could probably be another year. But that's all right. The good news is it's happening. And so it's really great, great news for everybody. But there's one thing that I've been following and I haven't seen a lot of chatter about it, and that is the new proposed law on the digital nomads. Hey, did y'all hear about the proposed law on digital nomads? If you did, give me a thumbs up, give me a like. Tell me, have you heard about the proposed law for digital nomads?
I've heard of it.
You heard about it? Well, here's the deal about digital nomads, okay? So like I said in the very beginning, there's not a lot of good stuff that has come about because of COVID. But there are two things that really came about because of COVID. And number one, the COVID really, this whole COVID thing, it hurt everybody, okay? But it really, really hurt Costa Rica in a big, big way because Costa Rica does get a lot of their income. The tourist business affects a lot of people. I'm talking about from people, Tico's way up and Tico's way low. I mean, some Ticos, 100% of their income comes from the tourists. And so when COVID shut that down, that hurt a lot of people. Stores were shut down. Anyway, I think we're finally getting on the better side of it. However, let's talk about the good things that came about because of COVID, okay? Because it hurt the tourism, Costa Rican government said, hey, we got to do something to boost the economy. And so they finally said, okay, I know, let's do whatever we can to attract more foreigners. Let's give them some incentives. Let's make it easier for them to become residents by lowering the necessary requirements for the investors. Let's make it easier on so many ways. Let's let them bring in vehicles tax-free and duty-free. Let's let them bring in their household furnitures and stuff like that tax-free. So they did all that.
Make a special window just for them at the
a special window to kind of push it all through, right? So they did all that to bring. So that's one real good thing. They're like, okay, we got to do something. But here's the second thing that I'm really, really excited about. You see, digital nomads have existed in this world for a long, long time, long before COVID, okay? However, when we first came to Costa Rica's like, what's a digital nomad? Oh, that ain't no such thing. Ain't nobody works online, and that ain't no real job. Get a real job. Go punch the clock, And I can understand that, when the majority of your people don't have internet, don't have computers, well, digital nomads was not a real thing. But because of COVID and because so many people were forced to begin working from home, well, it required internet to step up their game with the internet. It required Costa Rica to step up their game with the internet. More and more Ticos were being forced to work at home, which required them to buy laptops, computers. It looks like we might be live again, okay? So looks like my phone there looks like, okay, let me know, folks. It looks like we're live. Looks like we're back up. Okay, fantastic. Hey, that's Costa Rica. You just have to have this Pura Vida mentality. Well, you know what? Internet went off, but it'll come back eventually. Oh, the water went off. Well, in a couple hours, it'll come back. Oh, look, the electricity went off again. Okay, well, Pura Vida.
You just have to persevere.
It's okay.
It's a small price to pay to live in the most beautiful country in the whole world, in my opinion.
It's a small price to pay, so if it's important. If you can't deal with minor things like that, don't come because it will drive you nuts. But hey, the good thing is Costa Rica is getting better and better and better.
Yeah, the improvement that we've seen over the last 7 years is remarkable.
Yes, we've seen lots of improvement in the short time that we've been here. So,
and
when
like
we
you
first...
were saying, I think you were talking about that, how when we first came, there weren't that many people working from home or on the computer. And, our like you were saying, our neighbor is a really smart little guy, Tico guy, that he's doing something different from what
That's right.
most
He's
people
doing a
do.
lot of different things. Matter of fact, I told my neighbor, I says, you a strange Tico. And he kind of looked at me funny, like, what do you mean I'm a strange Tico? I says, well, you're not the ordinary Ticos. Most Ticos, they don't work from home. And he likes to travel around. Man, he'll hop around and live from place to place so that he can sightsee and learn about Costa Rica. Hardly anybody does that. So he's indeed a unusual Tico, smart guy, and he's getting smarter and smarter by the day because, well, he wants to learn and he travels all over, and because he has the digital nomad lifestyle, he can do that.
Yeah, and not only is he working from home, but he's also taking his college courses from home. So he's getting his degree at the same time. So
That's right.
And I'm sure he talks about in the future going to other countries.
That's
right. I think that's what's so good about the digital nomad. You could come to Costa Rica for a while, go to another country, just explore the world, the beauty of the world.
Exactly. So, so anyway, I was going back to Pura Vida is spelled Puravida, but I know I probably pronounce it wrong every single time, and half of that's on purpose. So anyway, it's just life. We love Costa Rica. But anyway, I was talking about the proposed, I don't know if you want, well, I'm sure it's a proposed law, but it's a proposed law for digital nomads. So what it really is, it's a proposed digital nomad visa. But obviously it has to be a law before it can actually be applied as a visa. Okay, so anyway, we were talking
it's
about.
an option.
Right.
Whereas, what do they have, like work visas, which are very difficult to get.
Almost impossible to get a work
Right.
visa in Costa Rica.
And so they came up with this digital nomad for people who, because Costa Rica is really big on protecting their jobs. You know, not like the United States. Hey, everybody come over into our country and take all the jobs.
That's right, because, Americans don't want to work, they're lazy. But hey, guess what? All the Mexicans come over here, they'll do anything. And some of these Mexicans are getting rich because they're willing to work while other people don't want to work.
Yeah.
So over in Costa Rica, it's good. I'm glad that they protect their jobs because you know what? It's hard for Tico to make money, and they need their jobs. So they definitely don't need foreigners coming over here and stealing their jobs.
Right, that makes sense. Can you imagine if a bunch of foreigners came and then took all of their jobs? So, I think that's good that they're protecting their workforce, their livelihood, and so I don't know what's going on.
Don't worry.
Okay, so they created another visa category besides the work visa that people who can support themselves via the internet can come here. They're not going to be taking anybody's job, but they're going to be able to sustain themselves.
That's right. And so it's the digital nomad visa that they're talking about. This thing started off about the same time as the proposed law to attract gringos or foreigners here, okay? So let's talk about that real quick, okay? Now, the proposed digital nomad visa, it hasn't even gone to the first debate yet, okay? It's still in Congress, but let's talk about what are some of the requirements. So in order to, well, let me back up a little bit. We're talking about if you come over here to be a resident, okay, there's three main categories or most popular categories, and that's the pensionados. Those are the retirement people, okay? Those are easy to get because you just have to show that you've got $1,000 requirement, okay? Then you got the investors, and that was $200,000, which is being moved to $150,000. That's a big chunk of money. Then you got the rentistas, okay, and those are people like us who are working, but you've got to deposit $60,000 into a bank account. And, well, I just don't have $60,000 to put into a bank account, okay? And so that makes it very difficult for people like us to get our residency. Now, we're in the process of getting a residency. It's very difficult. But I think Costa Rica's answer to that is be a digital nomad. Well, to be a digital nomad, then all that does is kind of give you that work visa, but you're only allowed to work digitally on your computer, making your money outside of Costa Rica. You're not going to be a digital nomad and be making your money from Costa Rica. Okay, big difference there. Digital nomad making money from outside of Costa Rica. I don't know the fine print on that, and I don't know how they would know that you were making money from Costa Rica instead of outside. But my point is, I read it, and everything does change. And just like the proposed law to attract foreigners here, things change. Some of it got better, and this will be the same thing. So for the digital nomad, here's the requirements. For an individual, we've been digital nomads for 15 years? For a long time. And
not in Costa Rica. The whole time,
not in Costa Rica. 8 years in Costa Rica or 7 years. Anyway, for a digital nomad, you got to prove that you can make $3,000 a month, or on average $3,000 a month, and you prove that by showing your bank statements, okay? And or $4,000 a month for a couple or a family. Now, I know this sounds a little bit crazy and doesn't make sense because immediately you're thinking, wait, a pensionado retirement only has to prove that he makes $1,000 a month. But if you're a digital nomad, you got to make $3,000. Well, why does it cost a digital nomad more money than it does someone who's retired? Hey, I don't know. But if you're looking for common sense in Costa Rica, that almost never exists. It's just part of life. So, you got to show $3,000 for a single, $4,000 for a couple or a family. But if you can show that, then they're trying to make this process like really fast and really easy to where you can almost do the whole thing online. And once you apply, you can get approved or declined in 15 days. Wow, wouldn't that be awesome? Can you imagine? We would not have to stamp out at the border every 90 days.
Right. The only thing is you have to get it renewed every
Year. Now, and I don't know that you can renew it every year. I know that once you apply, you can get it for a year and extend it for another year. The original proposed law said for 6 months, but I think that's been changed. The original proposed law said you had to make $5,000, but I think that's been changed to $3,000.
Yeah.
So,
and maybe they'll decrease it.
and
We
they
can
might
always hope.
decrease it more. They might watch this video and say, you know, that gringo's pretty right. He's kind of cuckoo, but he's right, you know. So who knows? Anyway, it doesn't matter. The good thing is, because of COVID, they're realizing that digital nomads are real things. And you know what? If we can draw them here, then it'll help boost the economy. And Costa Rica has stated, this is what they stated. Costa Rica stated, we want to be the first country in Central America to offer this type of visa. Now, do you know what that means? That means they want to say that they're first. They want to have that trophy that says, yep, we were the first country in Latin America. So that gives us a good indicator that they're going to be pushing this through because they want to be first so that they have that trophy, right? And so this bill was sponsored by 20 different legislatures in Costa Rica. So it's a good sign that they are going to push that through. So
maybe they'll start on that after they pass this.
Yeah, you know, maybe they're working on one thing at a time. But, you know, so it's really, really good news. Now, like I said, you know, it's going to give us a year, but then we can extend it for another year, and I guess we get to reapply. I don't know.
Yeah, the details aren't spelled out
Yeah, the details,
yet.
yeah. But we'll see more details as that evolves. So, you know, that's really just an exciting thing.
Yeah, and that's why we're mentioning it, because if you don't see that you can have a chance to apply for residency because of the $60,000 or so forth, whatever the situation may be, and you're not close to retirement, and you're not able to spend $150,000 to $200,000 on some property, there is hope. You can still come and travel around, come see Costa Rica without having to stamp out every 90 days, have that digital nomad visa.
That's right. I mean, you know, you can still come, just we've been here and we've been having to stamp out every 90 days, and that is a hassle. Mm-hmm. It's a pain. It's no fun. But, you know, it's a small price to pay to live in paradise, right? So, hey, while not everything is perfect, but nothing is perfect in any country, okay? And maybe we'll talk about that one day. You've got to focus on why you've come here. And we come here because we really enjoy the constant temperatures. It's absolutely wonderful. We love the natural beauty of the place, you know, and most Costa Ricans are just really very friendly. So, you know, there's reasons why we're here and we love it, and we'll probably never, ever leave, okay? So, anyway, but one other thing, you know, you do have to have medical coverage insurance, which means you just have to buy that insurance policy for, you know, you get approved for a year, you got to buy medical insurance for a year so that in case something happens, you're covered, okay? So no big deal.
Because you won't be required to
Yeah, you won't be required to buy CAHA. See?
Whereas when you become a resident, you're required to.
That's right. Which is, you know, that's a question that came up. You know, once you become a resident, and that was one of the questions in here. So for the person that asked that question, I'm gonna quickly look up there in the chat box. So in the chat box, Summit said, under the new immigration guideline, if one chooses investor category, moves to Costa Rica, is it mandatory to join CAHA? Yes. That is their ulterior motive. You know, Costa Rica wants you to come. They know you're going to spend your money here. However, you are not going to live here without having to pay CAHA. You must pay CAHA. CAHA is not expensive, okay?
No, they're not making money off of.
I don't think they're making much money off of that. But their point is, it's to protect you in case something happens. And you know, they don't want you getting sick, going over there, getting free health care, and not paying for it. CAHA is going to ensure that it's going to get paid, and that's the point of it. So yeah, it's mandatory. You're going to have CAHA, okay? So anyway, but I think, let me take a look at my notes real quick. That is really the gist of the digital nomad visa. And I want to cover any questions on the digital nomad visa, cover any questions on the update on the proposed law, and we'll cover that real quick. And then I'm going to answer any and all questions as usual, okay?
I have a question about the proposed law. I mean, you've been doing the research lately. I haven't been doing a lot of research.
Is she allowed to ask questions? I mean, she's supposed to be on the other side, right?
Well, just refresh my memory. The proposed law, do you have to be a resident to take advantage of that? Or like if you're just coming here and you haven't applied for your residency yet, are you able to bring your stuff over, or you have to wait till you become a resident?
Okay, no. So once you apply, and you're talking about for the proposed law, can you
Yeah.
bring your stuff over? Now, from my understanding, as soon as you apply to become a resident, then you can begin to bring your stuff over. However, if you get denied, you're going to have to pay for all of that stuff, okay? So you can go ahead and begin to bring that stuff over, once the law is in place, that is.
Right, once the law is in place, but the law is that you'll have to at least begin your residency
you have to
application.
you begin your residency application. I mean, yeah, you can go ahead and bring your container stuff over and your vehicles over, but you're going to pay the normal import duties and fees and all of that stuff. But if you have started your residency process, you've got your golden ticket that proves that you've started that process. Now you're able to bring in that furniture, that container full of furniture, household items. You can bring your vehicle, bring my helicopter. Who was it that said they were donating a helicopter to a good cause? Anyway, you can bring that stuff over. Now, keep in mind, if you don't get approved, you're going to have to pay for all of that stuff, okay, your import duties. But, obviously, if you're legitimate, you haven't lied, then granted, you get to bring all that stuff without all the import fees. So did that answer your question?
Yes, I couldn't remember. So.
All right. So anyway, lots of good stuff. So if you've got questions for the digital nomad law or visa or the proposed law, put it in there. I'm going to cover that, and then we're going to just go ahead and start answering questions. But look, while I'm here, I do want to take a moment just to say thank you very much for the likes. Make sure you hit the likes. Thank you so much for subscribing. It does help us in a big, big way. Hey, we greatly appreciate any time you give a donation or you join the forum as a free member or you join the forum as a premium member.
Either way helps, because even a free membership, you get in there and start talking,
even a free membership
questions.
helps because it brings more people. Yeah, there are premium stuff in there, and someone complained the other day, why is it I want real information, you send me to the forum? Hey, it's 33 cents a day, but you need to understand, we try to answer every single question. And, there's hundreds upon thousands of people answering questions or asking questions, and I have to answer the same question again and again and again and again. But when you ask the question in the forum, I can answer it. Other people will experience it, can answer how they dealt with it, what they had to do. And so now you're getting help from more than just me, and I can answer that question one time. It helps so many people. So,
you answer it one time, and then it's available. It stays there.
It stays there. Yeah,
YouTube, where
unlike
it moves
YouTube,
down.
can you imagine if you were looking for your question on YouTube and you have to go from video to video to video to video to find an answer, right? It doesn't make sense. But in a forum, you can ask the question, we can give you an answer, and it can help hundreds upon hundreds of people, and it costs a whole 33 cents a day for the premium areas. A lot of the areas are free, and it does help us because it helps offset the cost that we have on overhead, the employees we have to pay that help us answer questions on YouTube and all of that. So, hey, we greatly appreciate you supporting us. And, hey, we ask you to consider joining as a premium member of the forum. And it just helps to create. And if you don't want to join for the $10, hey, sign up for free. Get in there and start interacting and having fun. Yeah. That's what it's all about, okay?
Especially if you've lived in Costa Rica or visited Costa Rica and you have something to share. That's really
because there's
really
folks
nice.
like Doug. Doug's in the forum a lot. He's on most all of our videos, and he's always very helpful because, hey, he's got a place up north, and correct me, Doug, if I'm wrong, but I think Doug has a place over in Guanacaste on the Nicoya Peninsula up there. Totally different environment over there than it is here.
And he's been here a long time.
Yeah, he goes back and forth. I think he's currently in Canada right now, but he goes back and forth. And so he can give his perspective, his experience. Because look, we've been very fortunate. We have traveled all over Costa Rica. However, as much as I'd like to think I know it all, I don't know it all. My wife seems to think I know it all sometimes. No, she doesn't. Anyway,
I remind you that you don't.
she loves to remind me I don't know it all. But anyway, I like to have fun.
You do know a lot of stuff, though, but
I know a lot of stuff.
but
I've done
every
a lot.
community is different.
There's
Even little neighborhood.
microclimates everywhere. Communities are different.
Yeah.
Cultures are different. As small as Costa Rica is, it's amazing the vast differences there are, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's because a lot of these little communities or family communities, they didn't travel far from, where they originally started building their house and settling, and then they had children, and those children stay there. And so you have entire communities that's a family. So they don't have that much outside influence. They have whatever their traditions were, however they do things, it just becomes part of that community. So, I think it used to be like that more so in the United States, where our children didn't move very far away, but it's not like that anymore. Now families or, kids, grandkids live all over the country or even away from, out of the country. So I think that's a main reason that each little community has its own, what would you call it, nuances.
Yeah, their own, it's kind of like they have their own culture, huh?
Yeah.
It really is different.
And then the weather is different from area to area. There are places on the Nicoya Peninsula that are dry compared to other places in Costa Rica. There are places that get way more rain than other areas. So when you come in here and you're thinking about buying a house, there's a lot to consider.
There's a whole lot to consider when you come here. And things are constantly changing. I would like to say it's always changing for the better, but not always. A couple of years ago when we lived in this little bitty town called Potrero Grande, I was able to easily buy internet just showing my passport. Well, that changed. Now I couldn't buy it unless I had a corporation or if I was a resident, okay? So...
Or you'd have to get a Tico
Or I'd have to
put
get a
it in
Tico
their
to buy.
name.
Right. So... Is that for the better? Well, it's for the better for Costa Rica, but the reason they did that is like, well, look, if you live in Costa Rica and you need internet to your house, stinking become a resident. Well, that makes sense to me, because they don't want you living here. So if you're going to live here, get a corporation, become a resident. And we've been trying for years to become a resident, but Costa Rica just hasn't made it easy enough for people like us. They've made it easy for retirees. They've made it easy for people that's got a lot of money, okay, and can invest. So anyway, things are always changing, always for the better, either for the better of Costa Rica or the better for us. Look
Better
at
one
it
way
on the
or the other.
positive. See? So you just got to always look at the positive.
I like how you actually, COVID is so terrible, but you actually found a benefit of it, if there's such a thing.
That's right. And it's kind of like Arena says, that's why apple juice is useful. I agree with you. So you do have to have a lot of patience, like April said. Got to have a lot of patience to live here in paradise, okay?
Yeah.
Nothing is perfect.
It did bring about some changes, like having to wash your hands everywhere. That's not so bad.
Yeah, that wasn't so bad. I'm telling you,
really-
that really was a good thing.
Yeah, because it seemed like once a year we would catch this thing called the, how do they call it? The gripe,
I don't know.
I think they call it the
Some
gripe.
kind of funk.
It's something like a flu, but oh man, it'll have you down for a good week. And we didn't catch it this year because everybody's washing their hands. And
Doug brought up a good point, when I said if you're looking for common sense in Costa Rica, there's very little of that. But he brought up a good point. He says, hey, look, there's no common sense in any country's government. I totally agree.
That's
you take
what
a
I
look at
said,
what
Doug.
America's doing right now.
That's what I
Makes
said.
no sense. There's like, I think, 300 different types of sex, and I still hadn't figured out which one I am yet. So anyway, you're absolutely right. When it comes to governments, a lot of things just simply don't make sense.
Yeah, I was saying, if you think it's just Costa Rica, it's
Yeah,
all over
it's
this
all over.
world.
Now, Lauren asked a good question. It says, are digital nomads required to pay caja? And we briefly touched on it. No, they're not required to pay caja because in reality, they're still tourists. They just really work visas is what they are, digital nomad visas, where they get to work and make money online.
Right,
Okay?
it's not to be confused with a residency category.
Right. See. So let's take a look at some other questions here. Now, yeah, we still have to stamp out every 90 days in order to be able to drive. But, I think the question that Jessica is asking here is once you have that work visa, will you still have to stamp out every 90 days to drive? That is a fabulous question, and I hope that is addressed in the digital nomad visa because it makes no sense to have to stamp out every 90 days. And so I'm hoping that's going to be covered.
Right.
I
mean,
haven't
we
heard
don't know
yet.
for sure, but it makes no sense to require, if you have
Yeah.
your visa, to require you to stamp out every
Right,
90 days.
and there will be a small fee. They haven't determined what that fee is, but there will be a small fee to apply. You'll have to pay that fee, get approved within 15 days or denied. So, and I'm hoping you won't have to stamp out in order to drive.
Right. I'm curious as to what the renewal process will be. Will it
Yeah.
be just a matter of letting them know that you want to extend it, or will you have to go through, proving your income again and making some kind of application again? We just don't know yet. I guess those are all the details they work out when
Yeah.
they go into the debate or the assembly, and it goes
Yeah.
to the two.
Now, Michael Cook asked a interesting question here. So Michael says, hey, my wife is a Tika and we're living in the U.S. but plan on moving there next year. I'm preparing to apply for residency. And do you know if Costa Rica will accept a check from the state of Florida or is FBI required? FBI. Anyway, you do have to have your police check and all of that, but Costa Rica doesn't know what a check is. It's a good thing because I hate checks myself. When I had my business and closed it, I had...
They're not talking about that kind of check, I don't think.
You don't think it says...
No, he's talking about FBI
Will
or
they
background
accept a
check.
check from the state of Florida?
He's talking about background
Oh,
check.
he's talking about background check. He ain't talking about money. Good thing. But they ain't taking no check. Yeah. Okay. So no, you have to have a glad you caught that. Good catch. So yeah, no, you have to have an FBI background check. I don't think they will take only your state of Florida check.
No, it
so-
has to be FBI as far as I know.
Because that's what we did, huh?
They
we
do
had
the fingerprints. You have to submit your fingerprints, and they have to run it through the FBI.
Yeah, I thought he was asking, he's going to pay for his residence. He can't just send his check. He's going to write a check for it. They ain't taking that. So anyway, yeah, he says background check. They might take the background check. They ain't taking no written check. Okay. All right, let me look at my questions here. Okay. Okay, it says, Lauren says, if a choice, still working, can you do the pensionata, rentista, digital nomad? Would it be better to be a digital nomad instead of another program to avoid paying CAHA? CAHA premium is based on declared income. Mm-hmm. Okay, you're right. So yeah, that's something for each person to decide. Let's say that you are a digital nomad and you bring in $10,000 a month. Well, maybe it's better for you just to be a digital nomad, because then if you're declaring $10,000 a month, well, then your CAHA is based on a percentage of what you declare that you make on a monthly basis. Mm-hmm. So your CAHA is going to obviously be a whole lot more. So, those are pros and cons that you have to weigh.
Yeah, and something to consider. If you were had plans to, say, buy a house or something like that, or buy vehicles, it's something that would you'd want to extend your stay. You'd want to be here for longer than a year. I don't think there's going to be any kind of guarantee that you can extend your digital nomad visa. So you might want to think of that, where you don't have to pay the CAHA. You also have to get this renewed or extended every year. So, how would that work? You have a house, or you...
That's a very good point that you bring up, because, if you come here, let's say that you come here as a digital nomad and you buy an automobile and you buy a house, and then all of a sudden you can't renew. Well, now you're a perpetual tourist. But what happens if they don't let you ever renew as a tourist? Well, now you lose your house, your car,
Well, you can still sell it, but then...
You can still sell it, but, who's going to be taking care of it? So, those are all things that you've got to weigh out.
Right. But if you're not coming to buy, you're just coming to rent and enjoy the country for a while. Yeah, digital nomad is the way to go, I think.
Absolutely. I agree.
It's almost like being a perpetual tourist without having to stamp out, and you have, certain rights, I'm sure, are going to come with that visa.
Yeah. And you know, someone brought up a good point here. I think Doug brought up a good point. He says, you know, the CAHA is going to probably be cheaper than the international health insurance unless you just make a whole lot of money. See, and yeah, it'd be a whole lot better in my opinion. Okay, Doug, you're absolutely right.
And see,
Okay.
those are things to consider.
Yeah, Doug says, you know, hey Alan, you know, we got a house between Tambor and Santa Teresa, and that is over on the Nicoya Peninsula, if I'm correct. So anyway, they got a place up there, and they enjoy place there when they're going back and forth.
I think that's actually north of the Nicoya. It's still in Guanacaste.
I think yeah,
but
it's up in
north of it.
Guanacaste. But anyway, I'm not 100%. But anyway, he says he's 15 minutes to Montezuma and 25 minutes to. So if he's in Montezuma,
Oh,
then
that is way south,
that's
yeah.
south in the Nicoya Peninsula. See.
Yeah, that's way down the Nicoya
Yeah,
Peninsula.
yeah. Doug says, yeah, he's on the peninsula. See,
We've been there, Doug. It's a beautiful area.
yeah, beautiful place down in there. See, totally different environment there than it is where we're at. But that's what's interesting
Right.
about Costa Rica. That's why we say come here, travel around for a year, you know, and find out what area you like. But then when you find an area, try to stay at least a year so you get to understand all of the seasons, because you're going to find out that the seasons vary differently. And that way you can decide, well, man, don't like it here in the summertime or don't like it here in the rainy season.
Yeah.
You know, because,
And
you know, in Rivas, it rains a lot more there than typical places in Costa Rica.
Right, because it's up in the mountains, and so they get a lot more rain. But it would be very difficult to go and live in all these different places. But what you can do is just go spend a week or two in a little area, you know, in different areas, and ask the people, you know, what is it like? That way you get some good information without having to spend a lot of time, you know, especially if you're wanting to put down roots and buy something fairly quickly. I mean, we spent 2 years traveling around, and we still didn't get to see everything.
Look, there's
We
just
didn't
so
go
much to
to-
see because, I mean, when we
I
traveled
know.
around, we'd stay 3 months at some place, 6 months at another place, a year at another place, you know, and you're traveling around, but we got to see so much and experience so much. But really, you could see a lot of Costa Rica by going and staying a week here and a week there, but we really wanted to get a good feel of the place, and so we would stay much longer, you know, and enjoy it. I'm taking a look at the questions here real quick. And and I did cover, you know, if you are a digital nomad, like I said, I don't know that they're going to require you to have to stamp out every 90 days to drive. I'm hoping not, but anyway, we'll find out. GR says, I just saw that CAHA is $75 to over $400 per month per person. And that's crazy expensive. Now, it all depends, GR, because it really is based on your income. It's based on where you live. So it's not just based on your income. You know, if you are a long ways from the hospital, there's a lot of factors that come into consideration. And whenever you're going through that's one of the final steps of your residency. One of the final steps of your residency is you have an appointment with a CAHA professional specialist, and you go back and forth with negotiating how much CAHA you're going to pay or how much you can afford to pay. So it's not cut and dry, black and white, you know. So anyway, it's important that you know, yeah, it can be expensive depending on what category you're in, and it could be very, very cheap. All depends on what category resident you apply for. It's a lot cheaper for the retirees than it is for somebody who might be a digital nomad or a rentista, okay? So it all does vary.
And the problem with the CAHA system is, well, let me say what's good about it first. The medical care is very good. You know, it ranks in world surveys or whatever. It ranks very high. They have a lot of technology, but the negative part of that is it's a social system. So there are lines. You have to wait
There
a
could
lot
be
of
some
times.
long lines in the social system. But you can go and pay for the private hospitalization. Your insurance ain't going to cover it. But the private sector is not expensive at all, okay, in comparison to the United States. Okay?
Right. It depends
So,
on where you're coming
yeah.
from. It could be a little expensive
Yeah.
depending on where you're coming from. But we talk to a lot of the gringos that we talk to still go to the private hospitals even though they have the CAHA.
And they have to have the CAHOF. It's a requirement. So,
Right.
and even though they have the CAHOF, it's like, I don't want to wait in a long line. And so they just go to the private, because obviously the private sector, you do get better care than in the social sector. You know, I've been in the social sector and had to use their hospitalization. And it was good hospitalization, but it was long, long lines. I didn't have CAHA because we're not residents. I had to pay out of pocket. It was very cheap, okay? But it was long lines, okay? No fun. I hate lines, okay?
Yeah. Well, and not physical lines where you're standing in a line waiting to be served. I mean, even though that does happen, but also waiting list. Like, let's say you have to have a surgery that's not considered emergency. Let's say like appendix, like
Yeah,
the
or
guy that
something,
we
yeah.
were going to buy the land from, that waterfall property. He had appendix trouble. He needed to have a surgery, but it wasn't life-threatening. You know, it wasn't about to burst. But he was in, 4 months waiting, and
Yeah.
then
And then it became life-threatening.
and then one day he got a call like, "Come now, we have a place for you." So it's that kind of thing. But the healthcare is really good.
Yeah, the healthcare is top-notch and always has been. So, Marcus asked a good question. He says, well, can they just take your fingerprints that are already on file? And, you know, I don't have an answer to that. I don't think so. We had to actually go into San Jose and had our fingerprints taken in San Jose. So I don't have the
I'm pretty sure.
factual answer.
I'm pretty sure that they have to be no older than 6 months.
Yeah, because,
That's the rule
when
on all of, like, your birth certificate you've had since you were born, but they require a copy that has been certified or authenticated,
apostilled and all of that, yeah.
within the last, within a 6-month period. If it's older than 6 months, they don't accept it.
Yeah. So,
Marriage
when you start
license.
that process, you do have to make sure that you start the process and all your paperwork is ready, and you want to, get it all going, because if it expires, some of our paperwork expired. We had to go and do it again.
Yeah, by the time we got everything together, yeah, we had to request again. If you're concerned about something that's on your background check, I have read and heard that depending on what it is, they'll overlook some things. There was somebody that had like a misdemeanor, something that was on their record that from when they were in their early 20s, and they weren't able to get it, what do you call that, expunged or something like that. And they overlooked it because of how long ago it was. I don't know anything black and white, like definitely this and definitely not. I think they just take it on a case per case.
Yeah, I guess it just all depends on the situation, the crime or the whatever.
Yeah.
So,
but if you get somebody to help you with your residency process, get somebody reputable, they can probably help you work through that kind of thing.
now Ed asked a good question. It says, do you know when, hang on one second here because it moved. Okay, do you know when the new law passes concerning bringing our items over, if we need to bring it all at one time, or can we bring several containers at different times?
Oh, good question.
That's a real good question, Ed. Now, from my understanding, and I want to say thank you very much for those folks that have donated. We greatly appreciate it. And Ed, the good question. I think you can only bring in one container, but what I do know is that you've got up to 5 years to take advantage of that benefit, okay? So that when you do get to residence, it's not like you have to do it right now. So I think you have up to 5 years to take advantage of that privilege, but I think you can only bring it in one container. But I don't know that 100%, okay? Because it's kind of like the cars. They're going to let you bring in up to 2 cars, but, they're not going to let you bring in container. You brought in one container. Bring all your stuff in one container. They're not going to keep track of all that. So I'm thinking, but I could be completely wrong on that. But from my understanding, you can only be able to allow to bring in one container. Bring it all in and be done with it. Otherwise, the people that was against this regulation, they're like, you allow these people to bring in containers, it's going to be drug problems, and they're going to bring in 100 computers and selling them, and
bring in guns.
yeah, they're trying to avoid that kind of stuff. Yeah. So they're making it kind of simple. Yeah. So I think that's your answer, okay, Ed?
Yeah. They're trying to avoid, not say avoid, but keep the law from being abused by.
Yeah, because unfortunately, the law gets abused a lot by those type of people,
yeah,
right?
And stuff like that.
Yeah. So, and Brian asked, will a misdemeanor on your background check keep you from getting your residency? And Rebecca covered that just a few minutes ago. All depends on what that misdemeanor is, okay? Yeah. If your
I do know that some people have had them and they still get their residency.
That's right.
So it just depends.
If your misdemeanor was that you was caught smoking marijuana at the park, they probably let you go through because it happens here all the time. Because it's not a problem to them, So of course I don't know. I'm throwing that out there. I don't know if that would cause you not to come in or not.
Yeah, and going back to the question that Ed asked, right now the information that's being presented to us is just very surface, just overview information.
Yeah, because they still got to study it all.
Yeah, just saying that the law has been passed and so forth, or by the assembly, but that the president still needs to sign it. But they're not making public any major details.
Right.
But when it does get published, becomes a law, then we're going to be able to read and know exactly what the rules are.
Yeah. Now, GR asked a real good question and says, will CAHA be based on how much you have as well, or just income? In other words, I got $1 million in the bank and I make $1,000 a month. And does it change if you're a corporation? I don't think it changes if you're a corporation. Corporation just kind of helps you get things, but it is based on how much you make as income. I don't think it matters how much you have, although I'm not an attorney. I don't know all the facts. From my understanding, your CAHA is based only on your declared income. So if I declare that I make $1,000 a month, I'm going to pay CAHA based on that. If I'm actually making $20,000 a month and I'm only declaring $1,000 and they catch me lying, then I'm guessing they can evict me and dump me out of the country. So I'm just saying, I'm not encouraging you to lie about anything. I'm just saying, it's based on what you declare, okay? It's important you know that.
And, we don't know the technical, some of these answers, but we know people who do, and in the forum we have listed a few of the more reputable, what do you call them, residency attorneys.
Mm-hmm. And I haven't had the chance, but I'm going to update the forum with some reputable residency attorneys that can help you, okay? Because I know that's a big thing, and I want to be able to contact a few of them and speak with them, get some agreements in place and stuff like that. Because the forum, we try to keep it a safe place, a place where we can learn. I try to only put in people in there that I can recommend that I believe are going to be honest and legitimate. And there's a classified section in there. If you've got property you want to sell, you've got a car you want to sell, hey, put that stuff in the classified section. Yes, you got to be a $10 a month to do that, but guess what? You've got people who can buy that who is coming here. So it's a great place to do that kind of thing, okay?
And you can go through the entire residency process on your own. You don't need somebody to help you, but
it will be a lot easier if you've got an attorney, right?
Yeah, but you're looking at around $3,000 or more for an attorney to help you with those things.
Yeah. So
on average.
Yeah.
I think $3,000 is probably the cheapest.
All right. So I'm coming through here, and Yeah, and someone said, what is a digital nomad? So, and just kind of, I guess, to clarify, because hey, I think everybody knows, but not everybody knows. A digital nomad is somebody that works from home on their computer, and they're making all of their income or the majority of their income from the computer. So, a lot of people, they want to come to Costa Rica, but they've got to be able to make money. And there's a lot of people they're wanting to, like, how can I make money from home? And look, there are many, many, many ways to make money from home via your computer. And, I think eventually I'm going to actually do a little course, and I'll coach some people that are interested in that. So, if you're interested in learning about how you can start working from home on a computer, hey, I have coached a lot of people in the past. That's just one of the things that I do. I have created courses teaching people how they can make money online, okay? And I'm one of these guys that, look, I give it to you real. And, you can't go and buy a course and then in 2 weeks, like, how come I ain't got no money in the bank? Well, you can't just spend $1,000 for a course and then think money's going to show up. You've got to actually work. It's like any real business.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of like the magic diet pill. It really doesn't exist. And so these courses,
really?
I mean, think about it. If it did exist, it wouldn't be $39.95. But these courses that promise you that you're going to be, and they give these testimonials. So and so is making $10,000 in, the first week. That's not real. I mean, maybe that was real for them. That's a one in a.
Yeah, some people actually make huge amounts of money. I mean, I've made a lot of money online, and I'd make a whole lot of money in so many months because I created a course that took me a year to make, but then we sold it, made a fortune, But, and you can build businesses where you can build it up and you're making, this money every month. And so, but anyway, there are many ways to easily make money online. And I say easy, everything is a learning curve anyhow. My point is, I'm going to eventually teach that. And I'm hoping soon, if that's something you're interested in, hey, just chat. Great idea. I'd love it. I'm interested, And be sure to join our Facebook group if you haven't already joined our Facebook group. There's a link in the description on how you can join the Facebook group, link in the description on how you can join the forum, link in the description on how you can join our newsletter. Find out all of the stuff that we did, because you'll get emails telling you about it. And then you can actually reply back to us, okay? So anyway, if you think that was a great idea and you would like to learn how to work from home, well, I'll be doing some sort of a course, a teaching, a group coaching. And yep, it's going to be in the forum. So anyhow, that'll hopefully help you.
That's the key word, work. It is real work.
Yeah.
It's not... just something that you buy, and kind of like a treadmill. You can buy a treadmill and put
it turns into an expensive coat hanger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You actually have to walk on it.
Now, Rebecca said it's real work. Rebecca, I've been doing this for 15 years. Do I work?
You work more than a lot of people that I know.
I work hard. Now, I got to say, I love what I do, okay? And so I really enjoy making money online. I kind of look at it as a video game. It's like, okay, I'm doing something and did it work? Oh, look, I made some money. Cha-ching! It's kind of like a video game. Oh, look, this worked. Cha-ching! Oh, look, cha-ching! So I kind of look at it as a video game, and instead of wasting time on video games and doing stuff that doesn't make money, I like to figure ways to make money online, and I have fun doing that. I'm challenged by that. So call me crazy, but I like to figure out easy ways to make money online. I once created a course called 24-Hour Fast Cash, and I actually showed people how they can make money in 24 hours. It wasn't something, well, I guess it was something that you could do constantly, but it did require you a little bit of effort. But it was fast money, and so it was fun. You wasn't going to get rich, but you made some money, and it was nice. All so right. Anyway, just some interesting stuff, okay? So,
but there's all kinds of factors that affect that because.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm looking at some of the questions here. So. It's like Randy. Randy says, I'm a nurse and I would love to retire in Costa Rica. And wishes he had or she has he or she has a job on the computer. And it's easy to learn, but like you're a nurse, You'll never get a job nursing in Costa Rica because there's tons and tons of nurses who are unemployed, you know. So anyway, it's one of those things. John says, what area is best to live in to avoid biting insects? That's funny. Here we go from too cold to mosquitoes, and then black flies, and then too cold again. Okay, so John, that really is a good question. Because, you know, we was in Louisiana. And in Louisiana, man, we had...
Bad mosquitoes.
whoo, the mosquitoes, my
Chase
gosh.
you down.
I had to save Rebecca's life because she's little, and the mosquitoes was turning her way. She's like, help! Mosquitoes are bad in Louisiana. But over here, the mosquitoes really only bad for me, I found, right at the beach or next to the beach. So if you live in the mountains, wow, you hardly ever have to worry about the biting insects. Just rarely,
That's what I was going to say. The higher altitude, of course, the bugs aren't as plentiful. They're still there. I mean, it's a higher altitude, and maybe you don't have as many mosquitoes, but you still have scorpions and, you know, the spiders and things like that.
Yeah, and you got the horse flies. But, you know, it's like any place, you know, where we're going to in our off-grid homestead. Right now, there's a lot of horse flies, but every time I cut the grass and I clean everything up, I hardly have any horse flies biting me, okay? And I never, ever hardly get a mosquito bite me. Never find ticks biting me. You know, so... You know, and never have any scorpions there, although there are scorpions in the area. So it's all a matter of once you get your area cleaned up, your house is clean, you don't have a problem with that. And it all deals with what altitude you're at, because the colder it is, then the less bugs you have, okay? And the closer you get to the beach, the more mosquitoes you have. And look, the mosquitoes almost killed me when I was over on the Lemoyne side. And I mean, literally almost killed me.
Yeah, you always say that funny. It's limon.
Lemoyne. At the lemon side. Okay. Anyway.
But yeah, a special batch of mosquitoes had gotten brought in because even though Costa Rica doesn't have hurricanes make landfall, they do get the outer bands, you know, the winds, the rains that come from them. And I forget the name of the hurricane, but
It doesn't matter, huh?
it brought like swarms of mosquitoes and all kinds of mosquitoes. I had counted like 5 different kinds of mosquitoes in the house at one time. I literally was holding a fly swatter in one hand and brushing my teeth because, you know, with my toothbrush in the other hand, because they were so bad. And
Oh my gosh, you know.
that's when he got it. But it wasn't like that all the time. But
Yeah. But that area on the Lemoyne side, it was very common to know that you could get something called papillomalia, okay? If I'm pronouncing that right, papillomalia, and it's really a blood disease where these mosquitoes will lay something, and it was a blood-borne disease that could literally eat you from the inside out, and it could eat your internal organs and stuff. So it was an awful disease, very popular, but they knew how to take care of it. And so anyway, bad thing, I won't go into all that.
yeah,
But
not to scare anybody, but they do have the treatment there.
they do have the treatment, and it's very
several
popular over
shots.
on the Lemoyne side, or Lemoyne side.
Lemoyne.
But Lemoyne side. But anyway, one reason why not to go there. I love the Pacific side. Don't have that problem, hardly. Okay. So anyway, another good question here.
Let me
Yes.
say, they have, if you see mosquito netting or the netting around the beds, that's probably a good indication that there's a little bit of
Mosquito issues. Yeah.
issue. But I would have to say, not as bad as in Louisiana.
Oh no.
And the only
yeah.
reason why they're something to have to deal with at the beach is, and anywhere in Costa Rica if you have to deal with them, is because everything is open air.
Yeah, hardly any place in Costa Rica has screens on it. You know, you're in the United States, you got screens on everything. And so in Costa Rica, there's no screens. Everything is open air. And so the mosquitoes come in, and a little bit of mosquito netting. And you know, I'm glad you said that, because it reminds me, you know, we need to share some pictures of my desk, our desk, surrounded by mosquito nets. And it was like,
Yeah, we had to work under mosquito nets. And
Yeah.
if you had to, you know, you had to have a free hand to be swatting them
you know,
at all times.
It was terrible, right? So anyway.
But it is really, really nice to have such open air, you know, just have the windows open all the time. It's wonderful.
You know, Now, Summit says, how is CAHA premium determined under an investor category? And it's still determined pretty much the same way for any category, but it's just determined by, because you're going to, they like, you're an investor, we know you got a little bit more money, how much are you declaring each month, and how far away do you live to the closest clinic or hospital. So there's varying things that determine, so they're going to determine how much your CAHA premium is every month based on where you live at, what category you're in. And so obviously for retirement, they know you don't have much money, the premium's going to be cheaper. You're an investor, it's going to cost you a little bit more because they know you've got money. So all that stuff does weigh in effect. So I hope that answers your question, okay? Okay, I'm looking at some of the questions here real quick. And GR says, thanks again. I want to make sure that I have your helicopter money. Thank you so much. You can give me that helicopter money real quick and real easy. There's a $sign at the chat box and you just donate. So anyway, helicopter gas. Hey, Apple Juice fun. Anything is good for me. I don't complain. Anyway, all right. And Doug says, I've heard that you don't have to bring in your household stuff and cars at the same time. No, you don't have to bring them all in at the same time. And also heard that part of this law, you can bring in equipment for businesses if you're starting one. Now, Doug, I don't know that those are the same thing that you're talking about there. So as far as the digital nomad visa, they're going to actually bring in, if you can prove that you need these computers or this equipment, whatever it is for your digital nomad business, they're going to allow you to bring that in, okay, without having to pay tons of taxes. Now, I don't know if that's true as well as far as the proposed law, but I did read for the proposed law, like I think if you're maybe starting a business, I think.
Yeah, I
and
read
they would
that.
allow you to bring that equipment in. So
If you're going to be like investing in a business, then they're making a provision for that.
right. So, and I
Yeah.
think that might be what Doug's talking about.
Yeah, and the question that somebody asked, if the CAHA goes by, let's say you have money in the bank, I've never read anywhere that they take that into consideration. Doesn't mean that they don't, but everything that I've read, they say that it goes by your income. So
Right. There's several factors,
Yeah.
but the
But
biggest
you're gonna
factor
have to ask
is
all
your
those
income.
questions
Yeah. Now,
from-
Ed asked the question and says, hey, have things opened up, or has COVID still kept things shut down? And, pretty much everything was opened up and really close to full volume. However, they had a spike in numbers, and so they kind of closed a few things down, but it's not bad at all. Most things are opened up.
and the numbers have dropped, so things are beginning to open up. But right now they went back to having a curfew and driving restrictions.
Yeah.
And of course, they never did say that you could stop wearing your mask in public places.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
people don't wear them on the beach and and
Yeah.
just walking outside.
Most people do wear their mask pretty much everywhere, but Costa Rica does follow the United States a lot. And there's a lot of states in the United States, Louisiana, Texas, Florida, a lot of other states that are now saying, hey, no mask, no mask, no mask. And the more states that do that, Costa Rica is going to follow suit, and I feel certain they're going to do the same thing, okay? So I'm hoping for the best. Irina says, hey, did you find any edible mushrooms there? And you can find a lot of mushrooms here. I do know some people that have planted mushrooms. I saw some really pretty red mushrooms the other day, and I was tempted to eat them, but I was like, I better not.
we don't know much about the mushrooms, but so I wouldn't dare eat something that I picked. But
Yeah.
they do harvest them
Yeah.
and make teas out of them, and different things. There are others that are medicinal mushrooms. There are some that are used in cooking. So yeah.
So they do have that. Here's another
You
good
can buy
question.
it.
GR says, hey, do you have to worry about crocodiles at the beach? Most beaches you don't have to worry about the crocodiles, but there are a few rivers where people have, for whatever reason, started feeding crocodiles and stuff. And of course, those rivers have an opening at the beach, and those areas you don't want to go to. I don't know the name of those areas, but it's not very many of them. But most beaches are very, very safe, and you don't have to worry about crocodiles. However, there are a couple that you just
Yeah.
need Just if you go to the beach and there's a river, don't go there.
Right, because
Pretty-
there have been some attacks. There
Yeah.
have been attacks on surfers and
Yeah.
on people just playing in the water. But like Alan was saying, it's where the rivers meet. Meet the ocean, where the rivers flow into the ocean.
Yeah.
And so just kind of stay away from those areas and
Yeah.
watch for riptides.
Yeah. Now, Doug brought up a good point. Doug says, ants are probably the worst insect. And absolutely. Look, ants are all over the stinking place. You drop 1 grain of sugar and the ants will be like, boom, So it's crazy.
There's
And-
those little sugar ants, and they don't really bite, but they sure are a nuisance. They get into everything.
So, hey, it does make a huge difference. But I'm going to post something because I did a little video the other day. We normally sit outside and we'll eat our breakfast, and I have pancakes and a couple of drops of syrup got on the table there. And, man, within just a little while, it was full of ants. Full of ants. So, anyway, but, there's some simple stuff that you can buy, a little poison that you can put in the kitchen to get rid of them. But like Doug said, no matter how clean you keep it, them ants seem to find a way in, and that's because most houses in Costa Rica, they're not built to American standards where it's all sealed. Man, bugs come in, like it's nothing.
Well, yeah, they just
You
walk
know.
on in, fly on in. So
Yeah.
nothing, like you were saying, nothing is sealed. And we really try not to kill things if we don't have to.
Yeah, you should
believe,
have seen Rebecca. She made like 100 trips out the door to bring them ants outside. I don't know how she did that.
But we realize that we're in their space. But in some cases, when they're just overrunning and getting into your food and stuff, sometimes you have to do a little bit extra to get rid of them.
Now, Brian
in your
asked
house.
Brian asked a pretty good question. He says, well, look, if you've got 3 incomes, some Social Security, Veterans Disability, or VA, Social Security, VA, Disability, do you have to claim all of them? Hey, I'm not an attorney, and I don't know the answer to that. That's where you'd want to ask your attorney on that, So, do you have to claim it all as far as your CAHA? I really don't know the answer to that. Okay, but it's a good question. Jessica says, does a utility vehicle such as a Rhino count as one of my vehicles, and can I drive it on the road? Jessica, you can drive almost anything on the road. You can drive a 4-wheeler, a 3-wheeler. You can drive a
Bicycle with a
motorcycle.
motor.
Yeah, a bicycle with a motor. Now, most everything has to have a license plate, but I am surprised I've not seen any of the bicycles that have motors on them required to have a license plate or required to even have helmets or stripes like everybody else, okay?
They've
But-
fallen through the cracks. It's
yeah, that's the one thing that seems to have fallen through the crack. But yeah, you can. If you do have like a Rhino or a side-by-side, I think it counts as one of your vehicles, okay? And but you can drive it. You do have to get a license plate on it, and you will have to get it inspected every year, just like your other vehicles. But yeah, you can drive it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it definitely counts as one because
Yeah.
they name several different things that you can bring to of any one of these things.
Yeah. And Greg says he saw in a draft law that you must continually reside in Costa Rica. Not sure what that definition of continuously is. And
For what?
I'm thinking he's talking about the residency. And you do have, while you're going through the residency application, you have to be here. And I don't know, like Greg said, I want to say you have to be
6 months out of the year.
I was about to say that. I think you have to be at least 6 months out of the year
but
in
I'm
Costa
just going
Rica.
by memory on that.
Right. But I don't know exactly, and we could be wrong on that.
And they
okay?
may change that with the new law. That might be something different in the new law.
Okay. And Warrior says it's rip currents, not rip tides. And hey, thanks
Oh,
for that.
yeah,
You are
yeah,
right.
thanks.
You've got these rip currents, okay? And if you educate yourself on them, it's really not a bad thing, but you do need to be aware of them because in the United States, you'll have these huge signs, lifeguards everywhere, and you don't have that in Costa Rica, okay? So while you might have a few tiny signs that are faded and worn out, you do need to be careful of rip currents so that you don't have a problem with that, okay? But it's not as scary as it seems. I've been pulled out by rip currents whenever I was out surfing, but now I'm a great swimmer, and of course I know what to do, but so if you educate yourself, you don't have to worry,
Yeah,
really.
I don't think it's more being a great swimmer or a strong swimmer as it is knowing what to do if you get caught in one get pulled out by one.
Okay, now Doug asked a really good question here, and I'm glad you asked this, because he says, hey, are you able to get your vaccine in Costa Rica? I'm finally getting his second Pfizer shot on July 7th. So, and there are places where you can get your vaccine in Costa Rica. However, they were running short for a long time, and some people were in Costa Rica. Some ticos in Costa Rica were flying to the United States so they could get their vaccine, okay? So, yeah, you can get it here in Costa Rica, though, okay? And hey, Jessica's absolutely right. Having an outdoor kitchen is the way to go. That's right. It just makes it easier for the bugs. They don't have to go as far. Have an outdoor kitchen. You don't have to have worried about the bugs being on the inside, okay? So anyway, that's great. And look, hey, I've answered all of the questions. I can't believe I'm caught up. So if I haven't answered your question, please do be sure to put your question in there. And while we're at a break here, give us some thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, real important. It helps a whole lot. And look, I want to say kudos. We hit over 7,000 subscribers, and we hit it really fast. And so, hey, thanks to all of you for taking a moment to subscribe, because we really appreciate it. You know, Rebecca and I do a lot of work on these videos. It's a ton of work. And, you know, I've said it before, we don't have an ulterior motive. We're not trying to make money off of you. While, our channel is, we hope to make money off of YouTube. YouTube pays us for the ads, and that's great, but it's pennies. But hey,
slow in coming.
But it's good. And, there's other channels that, their whole thing for their YouTube channel is they want to help you to buy tours. There's nothing wrong with that at all. There's channels that help you to move to Costa Rica.
If you're selling tours,
yeah, nothing wrong with that at all.
channel.
But we don't have an ulterior motive, and we tell you that because we want you to know, while we love Costa Rica, we could care less whether you come or not, but we know a lot of people want to come, and so we want to provide you valuable information. There's several people out there that give good information. And, that's their whole thing, is they want you to, they're a travel agency, or they provide good information.
Yeah.
And that's great for them.
It sounds bad the way you said we could care less if you're coming on. That's not, I know that's not what you mean.
That's not what I mean.
What he means is
we're
not going to benefit one way or the other if you come good, and if you're not coming. So we're not trying to get you to come.
Right.
In other
Rebecca's always way better with some of her words than I am. I say I could care less. She's like, well, that's not good to say.
Well, it could be taken.
You're right. Because we enjoy it. And hey, if you're coming, we'd love for you to come. But what she said, we don't benefit in any way if you do come or not. Now, yes, some people have contacted and said, hey, can you help me find a place? What would you charge me? Hey, can we have, a personal coaching? Yes, we do that, but we're not here trying to make money off of you. But if you do want personal coaching, if you do want us to help you, we'll gladly help you if we've got the time. But we are very busy. And But, hey, we do love to help people, okay?
And more so, what we're trying to do is just to give the facts as we know it from our experience. Not that we know everything. We haven't experienced everything, but just to share as Alan says, the good, the bad, and the ugly, so that if you're wanting to come here, you're not coming with this preconceived, everything is going to be all wonderful roses all the time idea, because you might be disappointed. We sold everything and came and without ever visiting before, and just going by what information we got from a person who had done a lot of research. We figured, hey, if we don't like it, we can always go back and start over. So, but we found it to be quite more challenging than we had anticipated.
Surprisingly, it was,
For one thing is that they said that there was good internet, good Wi-Fi where we were going. First house we rented, the internet, they couldn't even install it at that house. We waited for an entire month.
I was going stir crazy.
Yeah, of them telling us that we'll be there, mañana. And after a month, we were like, I guess these people just aren't coming. And we ended up having to just find another house that did have internet. So, was not expecting that.
Right. There's quite a few things. It can be some challenges, but thank goodness. I wish we would have had someone that would have helped us, like we're trying to help you folks. And we have fun. I mean, we don't have family here, so this is kind of a way to talk with family on a Sunday afternoon and enjoy some apple juice. And hey, maybe y'all will come together. We'll barbecue and still have a life. Who knows?
It's funny, we share, over the years we've shared this stuff with our families when we go back, and they always look at us and say, well, why are you there? And we say, well, we don't want to paint such a picture, but we're just sharing the challenges that we face, because a lot of it is funny, it's like, and it was unexpected. So, and the way we end up having to handle things, it's hilarious sometimes.
Now, Ed asked a really great questions while you're on that topic. So Ed says, well, what do you miss the most from leaving the United States to living here? Great question, Ed. What do you miss the most? So, and people want to know that. If you're going to come from the United States to live here, what do you miss the most?
Well, it depends on your personality. I don't miss movie theaters or malls or anything like that, because I'm not big into that. I'm mostly into nature. And some of the things I miss are a direct result of me not being able to speak the language fluidly. So I'm going to exclude those things because that's my own fault. I miss, I guess what would you call it, the refinedness of the U.S., that everything, in most areas, things are pristine. I don't know how to explain
Well, let me explain it this way, and let me pause you a moment. Rebecca does like the finer things in life. She's a little bit spoiled. That's your cue. She's a little bit spoiled.
And what's wrong with that?
That's her cue. What's wrong with that? She likes the finer things in life. As a matter of fact, her favorite place to live when we was in the United States is when we was living in Las Vegas. Everything was pristine. You never saw any trash. We would go run, and the sidewalks were just like phenomenal. Everything was unbelievable. The finer things in life. In Costa Rica, it's not to say, it's nothing. It is a third world country. It is a developing country. It's not where the United States is at. It's smaller. It doesn't have the money the United States have, but they are growing and growing and growing. So,
and it's definitely not like the third world countries that we see on TV, like in Africa, where the people are starving, whatever. I mean, San Jose is a beautiful city. It's got a lot of refinement. But
there are places in San Jose that does have some fine places, right?
Yeah, really, really pretty places. But when we first arrived and went to San Vito, it's like the sidewalks were all choppy and nothing was, the roofs were rusted. And those are all minor things, and I got used to it right away. But it was so different from, like you were saying, I really liked when we lived in Las Vegas. Now, we didn't live in Las Vegas. We lived outside.
On the outskirts of Las Vegas.
Yeah, at the base of a mountain. And, but yeah, everything was manicured, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that those are the finer things in life.
Well.
I mean, that's just.
Now, for me, like she said, depends on your personality. And Rebecca enjoys the refinements and things like that. She's spoiled. She's well taken care of. So anyway, for me, there's two things I miss, okay? For me, I miss having easy, dependable internet. I love having dependable internet. But the second thing is, man, I miss good ice cream. I love Blue Bell ice cream. There's nothing better than good quality Blue Bell ice cream. I miss having a good sweet chocolate, and Costa Rica doesn't have those kind of sweets, so it's different here. You can't get a good ice cream, and they have. You can get some ice cream, but it's just not. And obviously, Blue Bell ice cream, it's probably got 1 million calories in one spoon, and it's not that way in Costa Rica, but you can get ice cream. It's just not the same. So, hey, it's minor things, but there are things that you miss.
And of course, we miss our families. They do come visit, but they're not at all interested in coming to live here.
That's right, but that's what's good. If you have good internet, you can do live chats with them, and you can have video conferencing and all that. So,
yeah, and you can get a direct flight from San Jose to Houston, Florida. I'm sure a lot of other places too.
Yeah. And, you know, it's
It's
kind
just
of
like a 5-hour flight.
yeah, it's kind of like Doug says. He misses getting good cheese, you know, and yeah, you can get cheese here. Matter of fact, in the Rivas area, there's a place there. It's a cheese factory, you know, small outfit there where they make a lot of cheese. But like Doug says, it is expensive, but you can get it here, okay? But you can get some of that cheap cheese. It's white and it looks like a sponge. Matter of fact, I think I use mine to clean the bathroom with. I'm teasing. They make this cheap white spongy cheese, but it's pretty tasty when you fry it. But hey, even if even if you fry bologna, it kind of tastes tasty. Yuck. You know. Anyway, it all depends on what you like. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah,
it's
I
different.
do miss some brands of things, you know, being able to just go into a store and buy what you used to, or buy brands that you like, you know.
Yeah, now John has a good point, and we're going to do that because we've talked about doing some relocation tours, and we're going to do that. It's a little bit of a job because, you know, we need to actually go to San Jose, or what we actually need to do is we actually need to find a couple of couples that want to come down here and schedule it so that we can have a couple of couples come down here and really kind of test the waters out and do a relocation tour with just a couple of couples and say, okay, we're going to meet you up in San Jose, and we're just going to test it all out and kind of, you know, work that process out. But we want to do some relocation tours because it would be awesome to be able to take, you know, 5 or 6 couples, go on a relocation tour and just take you from place to place and let you really feel what each area is like while sharing with you our experience of what we enjoyed and physically taking you. These are the great places. Here's the great places to live. And relocation tours would just be fun to do.
Yeah.
And we really want to set that up.
While you were talking, I was thinking of some other things that, like contact lenses are not always easy to get. You have to order them, and sometimes it can take 30 days to get them in. If you're fair-haired, fair-complected, cosmetics or like for blondes, redheads are difficult to find, of course, because most people are dark-skinned and dark, you know, have dark hair. So
Yeah.
you know, there's little things like that. But you know, when people we leave, have to check, you know, stamp out every 90 days, and sometimes we go back to the United States and we just get the things that that we're missing.
Yeah, you know, if you're traveling back and forth to the United States, you've got friends going back and forth to the United States, and you know that's what I kind of think is kind of nice by having this little family of people here. You know, if we can have our own little network inside the forum, then you know someone can say, "Hey, who is going back to the United States? Could you bring me back a Ninja blender if you have room in your suitcase?" You know,
Or we'll pay for an extra suitcase for
yeah,
you to bring it
and that
back.
way you can help one another out. And that's why the forum is such a valuable resource, because you can get in there together. And it's not just for before you come, it's while you're here. You got people like Doug who's been here, but it's you can help one another. You know, the forum, you know, I'm telling you, there's lots of expat Facebook groups, and man, they are cruel. They are hard. You ask one simple question and they jump all over you like, "You idiot, you don't know." You know, so the forum and our Facebook group is a friendly place. But I have to admit, you know, as busy as we are, we don't get to be in the Facebook group as much as I'd like to, but I do focus on the forum. So the forum is a place that you want to be, especially if you want to be getting an answer from me. But the Facebook group is a place where it makes it easy for people, because I know people love Facebook, and I don't like Facebook, but people love it, and then it makes it easy and convenient. And I know that, you know, the forum is not as easy, but hey, we're just making it better and better. And if you want to answer directly from us, well, the forum is the place to do it, okay?
Yeah. And we're thinking about doing another platform for
Yeah,
that forum.
I'm looking for a better platform for the forum, because I know some people that have Yahoo emails, and, you know, so anyway, I'm always looking for ways to make it better, okay? You know,
Oh, you know something I was saying the other day that I really miss?
what's that?
Remember, sides for meals. Almost every restaurant has the same sides, and I miss being able to order like just a side of green beans or a sweet potato, or you know, something like that. It's all the same sides. It's
Yeah, almost every
pantalones
restaurant
and
is typical.
Yeah, it's the mixed vegetables and the French fries, and it's the same sides, and it gets a little tiresome.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Jessica asked a good question. Says, how many suitcases can I bring in? And you can bring in as many as you want, okay? But depending on airline from airline, the airline we came in, allowed us to bring in two suitcases each that really didn't cost anything much. But then you could bring in other. So when we first came in, we brought in 10 suitcases to Costa Rica.
And our dog.
And a dog. Okay, but we had to pay for those extra suitcases, and it wasn't terribly expensive, but you could.
But it did cost.
It did cost.
As the more, after you go over your what they allow for in the basic, like in your ticket, they allow you say 2 suitcases. Well, that third suitcase is going to be quite an increase, and then the fourth one might be a little less of an increase.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I want to say on average it costs us $100 extra per suitcase. Okay. And then of course you're limited on weight, and I think it was like around 50 pounds, but it does make a big difference. Okay. And it varies from airline to airline. Okay. Mm-hmm. Also, Atiko Soon says, hey guys, just got on, but maybe it's off topic question. Are you able to get over-the-air waves, free local TV channels using the appropriate antenna, much like we do here in the U.S.? Yes, you can. We see people put up antennas all the time, and they're making their own antennas. They're putting all kind of wires and fencing and stuff. But yeah,
bamboo poles.
Bamboo poles, yeah. And so, yeah, absolutely, you can catch TV off of having an antenna up. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, almost everybody's got those cable dishes.
Yeah, it's getting TV is fairly cheap, and so people will put up the antenna, the TV antenna dishes. Mm-hmm. Almost every single house has got them, so it must be fairly cheap.
Yeah, it is fairly cheap, and a few of the houses that we've done, house sitting that had the cable, and I saw that you could catch U.S. channels like Discovery and some. NFL football games, different channels were presented. They'd be in English, and then there'd be subtitles. And then there were some channels that were voiced over in Spanish, but then you could put on the English subtitles.
Yeah.
So
or
if you're so fortunate to be able to speak and understand Spanish, wonderful for you.
Yeah.
That's a great way to enhance your Spanish.
Right. And of course, you don't have to know the language. And I've seen a lot of videos, that say, "Oh man, most ticos know English. In a lot of places, you don't need it." Well, obviously that might be where they live at, and they live in touristy areas. And yes, in touristy areas, maybe there are a lot of people that know it. But we have lived the majority of places we lived at. Hardly ever do you find a Tico. And we've gone into a lot of businesses, and you ask, do they speak English? No. Now, you don't have to. And on my app, I got an app, which is a great app. It's called iTranslate. Yes, it does cost money. It ain't much. But if I go somewhere and I can't converse with them, I speak into the app. I give it to them. They listen to it. They speak into the app, give it back to me. You don't have to know the language. It helps tremendously if you learn the language.
And we're learning
all the time. And we're always trying to learn the language. And they really appreciate it when you try, okay? And so, hey, just try. Just try to learn. But you don't have to know it.
Yeah. And there are a lot of people, a lot of Ticos who speak English, but not... It seems like when you go into a business and you're really needing something, there may be one, like there might be 10 people in the bank, let's say, and you say, does someone speak English? Well, they'll go look up that person and bring them, to help you.
Now, Woman Hill just asked a question and says, hey, I just saw that you live, but are they letting Canadians into Costa Rica now without having COVID shots or tests? Now, from my understanding right now, anybody can come into Costa Rica and there's no test required. You do have to fill out the health pass, but from my understanding, anybody can come into Costa Rica and you're not required to have any kind of test or any kind of shots.
Regardless of where you're from. I think the issue is when you try to go back to your country, like to go into the U.S., you have to have a test. before getting on the plane here from Costa Rica. So Costa Rica provides that test that you need, and they have rapid response.
Yeah. Now Lewis asked a pretty good question. He says, "Hey guys, in your opinion, how much does it cost to live in Costa Rica for a couple, including," and he says I'm sure that's restaurants on average. Thanks. And, we did a video on that, saying, can you live in Costa Rica on $1,000 a month? You can. It's probably not going to be the best quality of life, and most Costa Ricans live in Costa Rica on $500, $600, $700 a month. Okay? Now, on average, in my opinion, if you had $1,500 to $2,000, you can easily live. Now, can you live on $1,000 a month? Yes, you can.
You're not going to be living in a fancy house. You're going to be living in a
you're not living high on the hog. You're going to live in a Tico house, okay? And some people maybe are too good to live in a Tico house because it's, for me, a Tico house, there's nothing wrong with a Tico house. It's not as well built. It has a suicide shower. It's the only hot water that's there. A lot of them don't even have a suicide shower. A lot of them didn't have a kitchen sink. I put that in. But it's got all, for me, when I'm living somewhere, all I need is 4 walls and a roof. Now, when we build our tiny house, I'm going to build it because now I'm investing my place, my money, my property, whatever. So, really, you could easily live in Costa Rica on $1,500 a month. On $2,000 a month, you can live like a king, I like to say, because on $2,000 a month, you can really enjoy a lot of things. And if you got more than that, really, you got too much money as far as Costa Rica goes.
If you want to come really on the cheap, like we've lived for these 7 going on 8 years, you get inexpensive housing, which, like Alan's saying, there's nothing wrong with it. It's, you can find a nice place.
It's just not what you're used to.
It's just not refined, put it that way. It's not refined, but nice, nothing wrong with it. And, owning a vehicle will cost you some because you have to pay the marchamo at the end of the year, and of course repairs and all of that stuff that comes with a vehicle. But you don't have to have a vehicle to get around in Costa Rica because the bus system is really, really good. And there's Ubers and taxis. A lot of people rely on that. A lot of Costa Ricans don't have cars, and they just take a taxi when they're going shopping. Plus, almost all the little communities, I mean, if you're not wanting to just live out in the middle of nowhere, if you live in a community, almost every corner's got a little grocery store and a little restaurant. So things, necessities are within walking distance. They have little pharmacies, and stuff like that, meat markets. So you could get by without a vehicle. If you don't have a lot of money to spend on groceries, you can eat like on the cheap. They say you come here, eat like a Costa Rican, like a Tico, and you can eat on a few $100s. But if you're going to come and try to eat like an American,
then you need a lot more money.
You need a lot more money. Same with frequenting restaurants. If you go to the little sodas, you can get a good meal for 3,000 colones. That's like around $5. That's including your drink and your dessert and everything. But it's going to be a very typical, not a lot of variety. It's going to it's going to be a typical Costa Rican meal, but you can sustain yourself on that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
We've spent, we have the budget of $1,000, but every time we go out to eat at a restaurant,
we go splurge.
Yeah, that's dipping into our savings, and that can get at the average restaurant around here, San Isidro. We spend, for the 2 of us, that's not getting desserts and all of that, but he usually gets a couple of glasses of wine, and we get nice meals, and it's usually, give or take, 20,000 colones. It can be a little more, a little less, but that comes out to around $40 a meal.
It's actually a little less, and that's usually around $35 at today's exchange rate, but it's just easy to say, to double 20 and say 40, okay?
Because that'll fluctuate the exchange rate. But, and that can add up quickly, but, so it depends on how much you want to spend. You can live, very cost efficiently in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And then you can spend, live lavishly. You
Yeah,
know,
you
out
can
on the
spend
beach,
a
there are some
lot.
houses that rent for like $8,000 a month or more. It just depends. You know, there are some really fancy restaurants.
Yeah.
It's just like
Yeah, it's
anywhere
like
else.
anywhere.
But
If you've got more money than sense,
yeah,
man, you can spend
well,
all kind of money.
I'm saying
You
that
know?
it's just like anywhere, but it's really not as far as the low end, because in the United States, in Louisiana, for what we're paying about $367 here. It's just a 1 bedroom, 1 bath, but it's nice and it's secure. It's in a safe neighborhood. It includes our internet. It includes all the utilities.
It's furnished.
It's furnished. Now, what place do you think we could live in Louisiana for $367? Have it all? There is not. We would be in a
Well,
slum.
there's a meth lab or two,
Yeah.
you know, and
You know,
it'd probably
maybe
put us to work.
maybe a spot under a bridge or something like that. But so yeah, you can come and live extravagantly if you want to live an American lifestyle in Costa Rica. You can. You can get these really nice houses that are air conditioned and really fine, you know, and you can go to the fancy restaurants.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
yeah.
you can also live. I guess that's what's so appealing about it with nature. First of all, the utilities. In Louisiana, it was nothing, not rare in the summer for our electric bill only to be $400
By itself.
a month.
Yeah.
By itself.
And
you
we
know?
can live easily, you know, without that. So, but
Here you can live,
yeah.
because you don't need you don't even need insulation.
yeah. Now, Mike asked a really great question and says, you know, at what elevation does the climate allow for year-round vegetable and fruit gardens? Anywhere in Costa Rica, okay? Unless you're like at Cherepole Mountain, okay? So in Costa Rica, you can practically plant year-round. The thing is, it's a little tricky when it comes down to rainy season, and so, you know, you'll have to have plastic. But I'm going to be talking about that in some of our off-grid videos, okay? Mm-hmm. So in Costa Rica, you can plant year-round. The climate is perfect for that. But you got to learn how to plant, and you got to, you got to have plastic because of the rain or it's too hot. But anywhere in Costa Rica, you can plant 365 days out of the year.
Yeah,
and that's pretty awesome.
Dry season, you may have to water some. Rainy season, like Ellen's saying, you may have to protect it from the heavy rains. And there's not that much sunshine in the rainy season. You know, you get the morning sun, but not a whole lot of afternoon sun, so you got to consider all of that.
But you got plenty of sun for growing, you know.
Plenty of sun
so
for growing.
really, and that's what I love about Costa Rica, is I can have a garden. And I just planted a few things that you're going to be seeing pretty soon in some off-grid videos.
Yeah. Remember in Potrero Grande, it was so hot, and we planted some squash, and we didn't know we had to protect it.
And man, it just
burned.
like, you know, it was like starving. It was too hot because we're just too close to the equator. So,
so you just
yes,
have to learn.
If you like to garden, you just got to learn a little different type of gardening because of the heat and the rain.
Yeah, and something that surprised me, before we came, I'd read that, you know, there's fruit growing all the time, and you know, that things just, I pictured that there was like mangoes 12 months out of the year, and pineapples 12 months out of the year, and so forth. But the things that grow naturally, they do have a season.
And a lot of the fruit trees
they'll produce
will
like
harvest
two
times a year, you know.
Yeah.
So it just really all depends. You will learn how to grow things a little differently here. Mm-hmm. You know, some things that like almost harvesting, I mean, you know,
the
when
pineapples are continuous.
Yeah, when I was, well, not really continuous because they have harvest seasons, but that's kind of like the pepper plants. You know, we've been here for over 2 months now.
Yeah, this place.
Over 2 months now, and the peppers there are you can harvest them every single day, you know, and so it's like the peppers, you know, and I've seen that, you know, so there are some plants that harvest continuously.
Right, and that's planting is what I was saying is like things that just grow.
Yeah, the things
you know,
that
like,
just grow
without you having planted them and tended to them. Yes, we've stayed at places that had gardens, and just the whole time we were there, we were picking tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers. They were just producing continuously.
Yeah. Now, Doug asked the question and says, well, do you plant with the lunar calendars? There are a lot of people there that plant during a full moon or no moon. And, my dad was a great gardener. He had probably one of the best gardens in the world. However, he always planted by his book, boy. I mean, he had a book and he planted. And I don't know enough about gardening. I know if I put a seed in the ground and watered it, grows, okay?
You're going to get to see us learn because we don't know. We're going to figure it out, and we're going to share with you guys our trial and errors, our successes and failures.
Some stuff, and if I can plant a seed and put some water on it and it grows, well, then so can you. Now, obviously, if you learn how to plant by the moon and fertilize and a lot of other things, I think it helps. So I tried peeing on my garden, but I don't know if it helped. TMI. No, okay.
I hope that's not true.
That's not true. That's not true.
I'm not eating those things if that's true. That is not a good gardening tip.
That's not a good gardening tip. I learned that from Doug. Doug told me. So anyway, there are lots of things. Yeah, Brian, thank you. The Farmer's Almanac. My dad lived by the Farmer's Almanac. So obviously there was some truth in that thing, okay?
Yeah, he had a good garden, huh?
He had a great garden, okay? All right. So anyway, you really can have fun. And, Woman Hill says, she's coming here, and I think a lot of people have answered your question, okay? But yeah, you can come to Costa Rica. We're living right now in the San Isidro. We're right in the city of San Isidro, but we have lived all over the place. Rivas is a great place, and we'll be moving soon. I've got some great news. I want to tell you all about it, but you're just going to have to wait, because real soon, and I'm hoping within a couple of weeks, we're going to be living at the Off-Grid Homestead. I am so, did I say I'm so excited that soon we're going to be at the Off-Grid Homestead. And the biggest challenge has been trying to get internet. And they're supposed to be installing that internet tomorrow, but I still got to get it to the Off-Grid Homestead. And you saw the video last week where I showed you all the craziness that I had to do to get internet there. But you still have to buy internet to get it there. And that has been a serious challenge. So I am so excited that tomorrow they're going to be installing internet. And I still almost don't believe it. So
yeah, we try not to count our chickens before they hatch because
I'm trying not to get too excited, and I know you can't tell that I'm excited. So anyway,
but we've seen so many setbacks that until we see it happen, I think we're not letting ourselves really be excited.
Right. So anyway, we're really excited about that. So hey, I think I've answered all of the questions here. If I haven't answered a question and if I've missed it, because I never want to avoid anything, you put the question in there right now. I always want to answer your question. But hey, we've been going on here now live for, how long have we been going on?
I can't see it.
I can't hardly see it myself. But anyway,
like
an hour.
Yeah,
it says 104 minutes or something like that. So, I try to keep them short. But hey, I love answering questions and I love talking and chatting with everybody. I love goofing off. But hey, we really enjoy helping everyone, okay? Yeah, Plantanillo is a great place. And that's where Jessica says she's going, okay?
That's a little warmer than I like it.
Yeah, it's a little low, but it's still not on the beach, and it's still a very nice place.
And it's very close to the beach.
Yeah. So anyway, hey, I really enjoyed it. I think I don't see any questions coming here, so I got a lot of folks saying thanks, great for the show, really enjoyed it. And look, guys, we really appreciate you guys actually showing up. 66 people are watching right now. Would love it if you'd take a moment to make sure you hit the like button. It really helps us in a great way. Would love it if you would subscribe, because, we look at the analytics and, only 20 to 25% of the people that watch a show is actually subscribed. 75% of the people that watch our show is not subscribed, and it helps us as far as the YouTube algorithms go if you actually hit the subscribe button. Whether we have 7,000 or 100,000 people, while it doesn't matter to me, it does matter to YouTube, because YouTube pushes our stuff up so that we can help more and more people. So we really, really appreciate when you hit the like button. Really appreciate it when you hit the subscribe button. Wow, the like buttons are really jumping up there.
Yeah,
Wow,
see,
you guys are
it
awesome.
does make a difference in the, how YouTube will rank our videos. So
Yeah, YouTube, it makes a huge difference. So guys, you just have no clue what a big difference it makes when you hit the like button, when you hit the subscribe button. YouTube's algorithm says they must be giving out good information. People must really like it. And it does take us time to do these things, but hey, we have fun. We kind of consider you folks our extended family, and we just look forward to just giving you good information, and we giving you our information based on our own experience. It is going to be different if you're in La Fortuna, or if you're in Jaco, or if you're in San Vito. It's different, but we've been all over the place, and we try to give you information based on our experience, and things do change all the time.
yeah, and just like some of the political or the laws and stuff like that, we're getting that information from things that we read. So if things change, we have to read that it has, it had to be published for us to know about it. We don't have like this inside source or anything like that. We're just reading what everybody else is reading, and our experiences. Like we'll say stuff about the Caribbean side, or we'll say stuff about Jaco. We've only been to Jaco, maybe.
Well, we've been
10
quite a few
times.
times, but we didn't live there.
Right, we've never lived there.
But we lived close to it,
Right, and we've visited it, as just going to have a meal, or go and see the surf,
Yeah.
watch the surfers or something like that. So
When you live there, it's a different perspective.
right, and
You
so
know.
our perspective is in some areas just based on having visited.
Yeah. So now Chris does ask a good question and has asked it a couple of times. I saw it and I didn't get to answer it, and put it in there, okay? Chris said, when are the most long-term rentals available? What months, okay?
That's a good question.
That's a really good question. So Chris, in most of Costa Rica, you got a dry season and a rainy season, okay? And so you're going to find your long-term rentals easier during the rainy season. Rainy season normally starts in May and goes for about 6 months. Normally kind of teeters off in October. So you're going to find those long-term rentals normally not at May, because the high season or the tourist season is just ending, but there's still quite a few tourists because kids are out of school in May, June, July, and then they go back in August. So in my opinion, you're going to find those great long-term rentals, right there in July, August, September, and then you don't find as many long-term rentals, in October, because now they're preparing for the touristy season or the high season, okay? So anytime during the rainy season. However, when you get away from the touristy areas, you can find long-term rentals all over Costa Rica. Matter of fact, there's a lot of areas in the Paris-Zeledon region, San Isidro, that you can find some great long-term rentals, and that's because there's not a lot of touristy things in this area. So they're not trying to rent their stuff out to tourists because there's practically no tourists here. Okay, so it all depends on where you're at. So I hope that answered your question, Chris. I'm so glad you were persistent and you put that question in again, because I missed it. And I hate to miss any question, okay? So I hope that answered your question. Doug says, hey, when I subscribed, you were at 1,000 subscribers, and it's great to see that you're over 7,000 now. You guys deserve it. Thank you so much, Doug. We really appreciated it.
Thank you for all your help too, Doug.
Yeah, we really appreciate your help. And we really appreciate, we do work hard. Our channel has grown a lot, but it has a lot to do with you guys being on here, and you guys really, liking and subscribing, sharing our content with everybody out there. We really, really do appreciate all of you. And, we do it because we love it. And hey, obviously, we hope that one day we'll have 1 million subscribers, and we might actually make some money from YouTube.
Yeah, maybe we can stop doing the other work that we do,
That would be,
we
yeah.
could
So
just,
anyway, but hey, we do love what we do. So
yeah, and thank you for all the donations.
yeah, we greatly
Really
appreciate
appreciate
folks that donate us, whether it's on the chats or in the forum. We greatly appreciate your donations. Every penny helps. We We don't take it lightly, okay? Yeah, so the best time for you to come, Chris, is going to be, if you're going to come and you're looking for a long-term rental, the best time for you to come would be between August and before October. Okay, so I mean, if I were you, I'd be coming July, and that way you got July, August, September. You got 3 months to find a good long-term rental, and then you're set. Okay.
Yeah, because even places like Rivas, which is in the Perez Zeledón area, it happens to be touristy.
Yeah, it's touristy because of Mount Cherripo.
Yeah, it's hard to find a rental even right now in Rivas. It's a highly sought after place, but other communities and neighborhoods around San Isidro, like Alan was saying, because it's not touristy, they're available, throughout the year.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just places that cater to tourists.
Yeah.
That during the they call it the high season. Even hotel rentals.
Yeah.
The cost of hotels will be higher during what they call the high season, and then they have a low season rate.
Yeah, Jessica asked, what's the name of the Facebook group? And the name of the Facebook group is simply called Living in Costa Rica. She said for whatever reason the link didn't work. Maybe Marcus or Doug, someone could put the link to the Facebook group in the chat box there. Matter of fact, I could probably pull it up real quick myself.
Yeah. And thanks to Marcus for helping us.
Yeah,
with
Marcus helps us out a whole lot. Matter of fact, I want to say that I am working with somebody who is going to be helping the digital nomads. I meant to bring that up earlier. Okay, so if you are curious about being a digital nomad, I'm working with somebody that is going to be helping give remote services to digital nomads. And somebody I think is just going to be fabulous, okay? So hang on one second here. Let me see if I can put in the link to the Facebook group. Right there. Okay, there's a link to the Facebook group in the chat box so that if you need a link to the Facebook group where you can join it. But there are links in the description. I hope they work. So anyway, take a look at that. But anyway, I'm working with somebody. I'm working out the details on it. Somebody that is really doing something great for digital nomads, okay? And, being a digital nomad is really a good thing because you're able to go wherever you want in the world. But, as a digital nomad, sometimes you need some help. You need some support. But I know somebody that's going to be fantastic for that. So, hey, I'm looking forward to telling you a little bit more about that and having that person in the forum so that you can get help and support as a digital nomad. Because that's something that really is needed, okay? All right. Tom says, hey, what's the current status for retired military? I'm considering moving to Costa Rica and get monthly disability VA covered medical care. Now, as far as VA covered medical care, I don't know enough about that. There's not a VA hospital here, okay? And I don't know that your VA insurance or anything is covered. They're inside the forum. Maybe you can contact someone. Maybe there's someone that has more experience with that. I'm a veteran myself. I hardly ever get sick. I'm a healthy dude. But hey, if you need it, you need it, right? And so for me, if I have something terrible, I just go back to the United States and go to a VA hospital. But I don't know what the status is for retired military here. Okay, but you could contact the
embassy.
The embassy to get more information on that,
Yeah.
I believe. Okay, and of course there is a link in the description below on how you can join the forum. Okay, and
I think we have the link to the embassy in the forum, right?
yeah, I think there's a link to the embassy in the forum. Okay, there's a lot of things I need to update in the forum as well. We've just been very, very busy trying to get to the off-grid homestead, where we'll then have a lot more time to really just get things set up the way I want to. But really, really excited about that. Okay, and hey, Jessica, where do I surf? When I go surfing, I like to go down to Dominical because it's real close. Great ways for surfing. Matter of fact, when I go surfing, I've been doing this new thing. They got this, what they call underwater surfing. And you can always tell who does the underwater surfing because the surfboard is upside down and their feet sticking up like that out of the water. That's kind of the surfing that I do a whole lot.
He tries.
I'm trying to surf, but I spend more time underwater surfing than I do on top of the water surfing, but I sure try.
Yeah, but Hermosa Beach is good for surfing. That's a pretty...
Hermosa Beach. Look, you got to be experienced surfer to go Hermosa Beach.
Yeah, but it's so pretty.
Oh, it's beautiful beach, beautiful waves.
That's right outside of Jaco. There are two Hermosa beaches, but the one we're talking about is the one outside of Jaco. And the Caribbean side has some great places.
Yeah. So there's a lot of great stuff. But hey, I better let you go. Look at the links. There's plenty of links. And look, the links are in every single description under every video. Click the link to join the forum. And of course, you can simply go to forum.cloudforestchapel.com. That's forum.cloudforestchapel.com. And you can easily join the forum. And thanks everyone for your donations. I see another donation come in. Always greatly appreciate everyone who donates. It's a big help. It really is, because it helps offset the cost for everything that we do. Okay, and hey, we greatly appreciate it. I think we'll go at this point because we've been going for almost 2 hours now, and we greatly appreciate all of you here. And hey, we're going to see you next week. I hope we have an off-grid video. We always got something good for you. So until then, we're going to see you next week. Have a great one.